The echo of small footsteps. The silence of the house at 5 a.m. was a heavy, physical thing, but Kabir had learned to navigate it like a blind man learns the layout of a familiar room. He didn't need light to find the coffee maker, nor did he need an alarm to wake up. His internal clock was governed by a mixture of residual anxiety and a deeply ingrained routine. 3 years. It had been exactly 3 years since Rohan, his partner, had passed away in a sudden, senseless car accident on a rainy Tuesday evening. In a single phone call, Kabir's world had fractured. He went from being a co-parent, sharing the chaotic joy of raising a 2-year-old, to a solo navigator of a ship caught in a permanent storm. Now, Mahi was 5. Kabir poured the coffee into a faded ceramic mug and leaned against the kitchen counter, watching the first pale orange light of the dawn filter through the blinds. The living room was a battlefield of toys, a plastic dinosaur coexisting with a half-built Lego castle and a stray sparkly pink shoe. Once, Kabir would have obsessively cleared it before bed. Now, he viewed the mess as a sign of life. A sign that despite the massive, gaping void left in their lives, joy was still actively being manufactured here. He took a slow sip, letting the heat ground him. Today was a big day. It was Mahi's first day of kindergarten. The morning rush. Mahi cake, time to wake up, Kabir whispered, kneeling beside her small bed. The room was filled with the soft glow of a star-shaped nightlight. Mahi was buried under a duvet printed with astronauts, her dark curls a wild halo around her face. She groaned, a sound remarkably similar to the one Kabir made every morning, and pulled the blanket over her head. If you get up right now, Kabir teased, gently poking her side, there might be pancakes with chocolate chip eyes waiting for you. The blanket flew down. 2 bright, brown eyes blinked at him. With whipped cream hair. Only if you brush your teeth without me having to sing the brushing song twice. Deal. She scrambled out of bed, her small feet thumping against the hardwood floor. The next hour was a whirlwind of practiced efficiency. Kabir flipped pancakes while simultaneously packing a lunchbox, juice box, apple slices cut into star shapes because she refused to eat them regular, and a turkey sandwich with the crusts meticulously removed. He checked his watch. 6:45 a.m. He needed to get himself dressed for work, braid Mahi's hair, and ensure her backpack had the emergency change of clothes the school insisted on. Papa, look. Kabir turned around. Mahi was standing in the kitchen doorway. She had attempted to dress herself. She wore her new denim skirt, but she had paired it with a bright yellow superhero cape and mismatched socks, one striped, one featuring a cartoon cat. Kabir felt a familiar ache in his chest, a bittersweet pang. Rohan would have laughed hysterically at this. He would have taken 10 photos and insisted she wear it to school. Kabir, by nature more rigid, sighed internally but forced a smile. You look fierce, my astronaut superhero, Kabir said, kneeling to adjust her collar. But the cape has to stay in the car, okay. It might get caught on the playground slide. Mahi pouted, considering this. Will the slide make me lose my superpowers? Never, Kabir said softly, bopping her nose. Your superpowers are right here, he pointed to her chest, and here, he pointed to her head. The great threshold. The walk to the elementary school was short, but to Kabir, it felt like a march toward a major life transition. Mahi held his hand tightly, her tiny fingers warm inside his palm. She chattered endlessly about a beetle she saw on the sidewalk, completely unfazed by the monumental shift about to occur. As they approached the school gates, the noise level spiked. Dozens of children were running around, parents were crying, cameras were flashing, and teachers in bright vests were directing traffic. Suddenly, Mahi stopped. Her chatter ceased. The grip on Kabir's hand tightened until his knuckles turned white. Papa, she whispered, looking up at the massive brick building. It's too big. Kabir knelt down to her eye level, ignoring the rushing crowd of parents around them. He could feel his own throat tightening. For 5 years, she had been his shadow. When he worked from home, she sat under his desk. When he cooked, she watched from a stool. Sending her into this building felt like sending a piece of his own heart out into the wild, unprotected. Hey, Kabir said, his voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. Look at me. She looked at him, her eyes brimming with sudden tears. Don't leave me. I am never going to leave you, Mahi. I'm going to be right here at 2:30 p.m. waiting by this exact gate. But inside that building is an adventure. There are books you haven't read yet, games you haven't played, and friends who don't know how awesome you are yet. You have Papa's bravery and Dada's smile. You are ready. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, smooth, gray river stone. He had found it on the beach weeks ago and kept it for this exact moment. He drew a tiny heart on it with a permanent marker. This is a pocket hug, Kabir explained, pressing the stone into her small palm. Whenever you feel scared or miss me, just squeeze this stone. It will send a message straight to my heart, and I'll send a hug right back to you. Deal. Mahi looked at the stone, her thumb rubbing over the drawn heart. She took a deep breath, mimicking the deep breaths Kabir taught her during tantrums. Deal. A kind-faced teacher walked up to them. Hi there. Are you ready for kindergarten? Mahi looked at Kabir, then at the teacher. She nodded bravely. She let go of Kabir's hand, took the teacher's hand, and walked toward the heavy glass doors. She didn't look back. Kabir stood there for a long time, even after the doors closed and the playground emptied. He wiped a solitary tear from his cheek, feeling a strange mixture of immense pride and profound loneliness. The solitary hours. The house was suffocatingly quiet when Kabir returned to work from home. He sat at his computer, looking at spreadsheets, but his mind kept wandering. Is she eating her sandwich? Did she find the bathroom okay? What if someone is mean to her? Being a single father meant carrying a double load of anxiety. There was no one in the next room to bounce worries off of. There was no one to say, hey, relax, she's fine. Every decision, from the choice of school to the treatment of a fever, rested entirely on his shoulders. The weight of responsibility was sometimes so heavy it felt physical, like a weighted vest he could never take off. To distract himself, Kabir decided to deep clean the kitchen. As he wiped down the top of the refrigerator, his hand brushed against something dusty. He pulled it down. It was an old, framed photograph of him and Rohan, taken on a camping trip a year before Mahi was born. They were covered in mud, laughing hysterically, looking young and completely invincible. Kabir sat down at the kitchen table, holding the frame. I hope I'm doing this right, he whispered to the empty room. She's growing up so fast, R.O. I'm trying to be the fun one, the organized one, the strict one, and the comforting one all at once. It's exhausting. The photo offered no answers, only the timeless, frozen smile of the man he missed every single day. But looking at Rohan's face reminded Kabir of a promise he made at the funeral: she will know joy. I will make sure of it. The reunion. At 2:15 p.m., Kabir was the first parent standing at the school gate. He was practically vibrating with anticipation. When the doors finally opened and the children filed out, Kabir scanned the crowd. Then, he saw her. Her hair braid was completely undone, she had a streak of green washable marker on her cheek, and her backpack was dragging on the floor. But she was grinning from ear to ear. She spotted him, her face lighting up. Papa. She sprinted across the asphalt, throwing herself into his arms with such force that he staggered back a step. Kabir caught her, burying his face in her hair, smelling the familiar scent of baby shampoo, sweat, and school glue. How was it? He asked, lifting her up. I made a friend. Her name is Maya and she likes space too. And look, she opened her small hand, revealing the gray river stone. I squeezed it at lunchtime because I missed you, did you feel it? Kabir felt a sudden, overwhelming rush of emotion that threatened to spill over. He squeezed her tighter. I did, Kabir whispered, his voice thick with love. I felt it right here. It was the best hug of the day. As they walked back home, Mahi holding his hand and pointing at another bug, Kabir looked down at his daughter. The heavy weight in his chest didn't vanish, it never truly would, but it felt lighter. They were doing it. They were surviving, growing, and building a life out of the pieces left behind. He was a single dad, and it was hard, but as he listened to his daughter's laughter echo down the street, he knew they were going to be more than okay.